there. This is Real Guitar Live. I'm Thomas Michaud. You knew that. Welcome. For all of you who are here, please feel free to ask your questions at any time in the chat. If you could start with the word question, I'll see it more easily. My eyes aren't that good, so believe me, I need the help. And if you're watching this as a recording, feel free to ask more questions in the comments. In any case, I look forward to answering all your questions. When we're done, I'm going to do a drawing for members of my Real Guitar Success membership. We do this every month. They complete each day 10 minutes of a practice session, and at the end of the month, they get put in a drawing, and then I pick one person out of the drawing to win a $50 gift card. But of course, the real gift is just the encouragement to complete the practice sessions and get better at playing guitar. And of course, that makes it more fun. So with that, let's get started with some questions. Oh, my guitar. Did I forget to mention I got a new guitar? Is this cool? Orange. With a tremolo. I've never used a tremolo, but it's fun to mess around with. I can make it distort too, like a rock and roll thing. Okay, enough showing off for now. Let's get on with the questions, and we'll turn this down so I don't kill everybody's ears. Hey, can everybody hear me okay? Thank you, Tim. It says nice guitar. I've learned to take a look in the comments in case something's not working. Yes, it's a Gretsch. Boy, they've come a long ways. I'm impressed. It seems like a really good quality for a reasonable price. Let's get on with the questions. The first one is, do you have any exercise on alternate picking and cross picking? Alternate picking is just taking your pick and going up and down. Now, cross picking is, I'm not real familiar with it. I did do a little study on my own because I wanted to improve my picking. And cross picking is not something I'm confident enough with to teach. Alternate picking, I am. I can't think of any specific exercises that I have on my website right now, but I'll do a review, and if I can't find any, I will just make some. That's a great thing I should have, so I will. Thanks for asking, John, and I'll make sure and save this, put this note, so I give you a shout out that I made some exercises, but of course they'll benefit everyone. Next question: is there a software out there that can listen to a song and tell us the key? I read this question a few days ago from Rogelio. There is, and I'm surprised. When I first read that, I go, no, I don't think so. And sure as heck, there actually is quite a few. The one that it seems to be, it's both free and seems to work really well, is called getsongkey.com /tools/keyfinder. I will put that, in fact, I'll throw that in the comments right quick. So you can have that right now and check it out. There. But I'll put it in the show notes too. It works. I put in some of my own tunes, and it didn't get it right every time, the key, but most of the time it did. And I was surprised. It worked fine. You upload basically an MP3 of the song, and it does a little calculations and tells you what key it thinks it's in. Also, you can find, let's say it's a song, a song that's on the radio, a popular song. There are websites that you can just, it'll tell you the key, and it'll tell you the speed of the song too. Or a lot of times they've recorded the song several times, and it might even change a little bit, and they'll give you a few versions. So I found that helpful. I'll find that information and put that in the show notes as well. I can't remember it all. I found it for a show a few months ago, and I can't remember right now, but I'll find that again. Great question. I'm really, I learn a lot from people asking questions. Shulaman asks, if a friend wants me to jam with her and is playing a song that I don't know, but she tells me the key that it's in, is the best thing to do to play a pentatonic scale over it. So she's talking about soloing over the song. Not necessarily. It depends on the style. Pentatonic scales work particularly good for rock and blues, this kind of thing. But if your song is like a folksy song, it might not fit stylistically. If it's a countryish song, there are major pentatonic scales, and that might work better. That's a major pentatonic. Pentatonic means 5 notes for everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it starts over. So there are major and minor pentatonics. This is the minor. I wasn't showing my guitar. Huh? That's the minor pentatonic, and that's I just played 1 octave to make it clear the sound. I would say most likely either the pentatonic might be a good one if it has any kind of rock bluesy feel sound to it. If it's more of a folksy thing, you might want to consider just a regular major scale, or if it's a minor key folk song, I was playing in A minor, I would probably think of trying a minor scale. So this is A minor scale. For a folksy minor song, that would probably sound better. By the way, I altered that scale a little bit on purpose. I wanted to see what it sounded like. I threw in this. That's called a harmonic minor. Without getting too much into the theory, it's a basic minor scale. Only that last note of the scale is raised up a half step. I'll say it that way. Harmonic minor. I tend to like that. It's the sound, but sometimes the minor scale is just what you need. So it's good to practice your major and minor scales and major and minor pentatonic. That kind of covers a lot of situations. Not everyone, depending, but probably 80-90% of popular music. And if I were practicing scales, I would encourage practicing in the keys you're more likely to use too. You could think one way to memorize is Caged, C-A-G-E-D, are the most popular keys for guitar. Love the lesson with baby chords. So this is Paul, and he's talking about baby chords. I know you like baby chords, Paul. That's a little 3-note chords. Again, I'll show my guitar. And I guess this would count a baby chord. I'm only playing the top 3 notes. Is there any way to get a complete list of 3-finger chords? I don't have a list. I did a quick search on the internet and I didn't find anything either. Not in the way that you're thinking. I did find 3-finger chords, but they're going all over, not what I would call baby chords. I'll think about that some more. Maybe I could make a list, but from my experience teaching, I tend to shy away from these lists of chords or lists of scales because so many people, it's human nature to want to collect, I know these number of scales, I can play these number of chords without really being able to use them. It's something you can kind of measure. I know 10 scales. But in reality, knowing 1 scale and being able to actually use it and practice it is much more valuable than knowing 10 scales and not being able to use them. It's the same with baby chords. My preference as a teacher was to have you do specific exercises with a limited number of chords. Wow, the lips aren't quite coordinated with the brain. With a limited number of chords and actually make music with them and then add another chord, not have a list and just kind of go through the list of chords. That said, I mean, there are times where, I need a new chord and I'll go to a book of 1,000 chords and say, oh, that's the one that fits the situation. So I'm not saying lists aren't useful at some points. Just my experience has been most students kind of use them wrong. That said, I'll think about that some more and see if I could think of a practical way to make a list. I can't think of it right now because the way I use baby chords is in context with something else. It wouldn't make sense to just have a list of all the baby chords in this key or this key or this key. I'll think about it some more and maybe I can make some sense out of that. How do you count time, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, per measure when you're trying to play a song fingerstyle as opposed to conventional strumming? And this is Dan. So, Dan, if you're on the call, you might want to clarify this. I'm going to start and maybe, what I say will inspire you to add something to the question. But basically, when I'm counting time, 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter whether it's strumming or fingerstyle. It's the same, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I'm strumming, I'm going to be keeping track of 1, 2, of where the pick is landing. It could be going up or down, or it could be one end, on the offbeat or any part of that beat. And when I'm fingerpicking, it's the same thing, only it's whatever individual note I'm playing I would be paying attention to. So in a practical way, there might be another thing that you want to ask about this question. I would love to hear more. Yeah, I'll move on and see if you're online. I can't see yet. There's a whole bunch of people, and my eyes aren't good enough to distinguish them all right yet. Next question. This is Bob. Okay. I would appreciate a few tips on finger picking. Oh, this is good. Okay, 2 questions. I'm going to combine them because they'll very similar. I've tried growing my nails for finger picking, and I know people see me. I have long nails on my right hand. Or I did actually. My first finger broke. It's broken. It's kind of put me out of business a little bit in some styles I play. But usually these fingers are long nails. And they mess up my Stratocaster electric guitar playing. Yes. I don't own an acoustic guitar yet, but one is on my Christmas list. Oh, that sounds good. What do you think of plastic finger picks? And on the electric, the strings seem closer together. And this would be kind of an electric. This is an electric guitar. It's an electric acoustic. They call it hollow body. So yeah, it is a little closer than I think most acoustic guitars. Probably not all. And I'm having problems finding the right string with the fingertip. Okay, so let me go backwards in there. First of all, when you're finger picking, everybody has a problem regardless of how wide your neck is getting your fingers in the right place at the right time. Believe me, that's not the big issue here. The widest neck is a nylon string guitar, and they're deliberately wide, not for the left hand. They're made wide for the right hand because you're doing a lot of individual notes and combinations of notes. So the right hand needs a little more space, but it's a little bit. The electric guitar, I'm going backwards in questions, is usually thinner than acoustic and definitely thinner than the nylon string guitar. There are different thicknesses of neck. That's why I said usually. Generally, electric guitar is a little bit thinner neck this way, and acoustic guitar a little wider generally, and then a nylon string, classical guitar or flamenco a little wider yet. Good to have an acoustic and electric, I think. If you're at all interested in playing styles of music that use an acoustic guitar, just the electric guitar, you could play songs on it, but it never quite sounds the same, and vice versa. If you're trying to play some rock and you need a little distortion, the acoustic guitar never quite sounds right. And nowadays, I don't know, you can get decent guitars for not very much money. When I was younger, it had to be an American guitar, and, $400 or $500 was the minimum of anything that sounded good. And for me, that was a lot of money back then. Nowadays, for $400, $500, it's a lot less money than it was back then, but it's also, you get a lot more quality. Of course, outsourcing and the manufacturing has gotten better for outsourced guitars. I would encourage you to have an acoustic and an electric. unless you're just really dead set on only playing one style of music. I mean, the styles of music that only fit one of those guitars. Now, I want to address this thing, growing out your nails, and it messes up on your Stratocaster. You do not use nails on fingerpicking on an electric guitar. I never. As a matter of fact, I grow my nails because it's the nylon string guitar. I get a certain tone with the nails that allows me to kind of cut through on the nylon string with the nails. I'm actually not just using nails. I'm using a combination of the finger and nail when I hit the string. And it takes a bit of practice to get that right. It's a classical guitar technique or a flamenco technique that usually takes years to learn. What I'm saying is that it just messes up on the electric guitar. I don't do finger picking on electric, partly because I don't want to mess up my nails. It'll chip my nails trying to play on an electric guitar. And it tends to do that on acoustic too, so I'm very shy to do too much finger picking on acoustic guitars. So maybe the short version of that is don't worry about nails on your either electric or acoustic guitar. You don't need them. You can play fingerpicking without nails. It's basically a softer sound, but the steel string and electric are higher pitched to start with, or have a sharper sound, so it compensates. Nylon string tends to be a softer sound, and the nails bring out that treble. You don't need that on a steel string. People who you see playing fingerpicking guitar aren't using usually nails. I've never seen that anyway on a steel string guitar, and certainly not electric. You'll see much less fingerpicking on electric. How about the plastic fingertips? I have tried those on an acoustic guitar. The idea seemed good to me, but they were so awkward and uncomfortable, I gave up on it. I decided I'd rather just use my fingers. I want to feel the strings. I'm just used to that. I'm sure people who are used to the plastic fingertips just don't worry about that somehow. But I want to feel the string with my finger. And the plastic fingertips fit over the finger, and I couldn't feel the string. The one thing I did like is the plastic thumb. And I still use that occasionally on my acoustic guitar because it allows me to get a deeper, fuller bass note, a little louder bass note. I like that. It fits over the thumb and sticks out a little bit on the side and allows you to really pluck the bass note. That, I would recommend experimenting with it. I can play without it, but for some styles like fancy finger picking, sometimes it's nice to have a little louder bass note. Now, Grant also asked, can you advise regarding the use of fingernails in playing the guitar or nail management, keeping them from interfering? So if you're only playing steel string guitars, I would say don't grow your nails long for that. I can't think of any benefit really. As a matter of fact, it would be more of a hindrance, I think, if your nails get in the way. And we're talking right hand, just to make sure we're all on the same page here. Left hand, always the nails have to be short. You have to press them down on the fingerboard. If you're playing nylon and steel string, now you've got a little bit of a quandary. You can play nylon without fingernails, but it is a very soft sound. And if you really want to get a good sound on nylon string guitar, you would need to grow your nails. And then the trick is you grow them just long enough to be able to hit the flesh part and the nail on the nylon string. And you need to file them regularly, not only file them to the right length and dimension, but also file them after you file them, buffer them so that they're very smooth, polished, so that they glide off the string and don't make either a rough sound or catch. If they're rough, they'll wear down fast or chip, and they'll also make a little rough sound on your string, on nylon strings. So I can go back and forth from one to the other, but I spend a lot more time on the nylon string, so I really spend time on my nails, filing them almost every day, filing them a little bit, buffering them before I practice. I'd say out of 7 days a week, I'll file them 5, maybe 6 days. One day I might skip. So if you're going to do that, you're going to have to develop a routine. It's a bit extra work. For me, it's worth it. As a matter of fact, the other thing that I do is I go to the nail salon and have them put acrylic, not fake nails, but acrylic material on the nails to make them harder, and then I file it, because with the flamenco stuff, my nails will break. Except the thumb. I have a very strong thumbnail. Don't need it. Yeah, it's a bit of a subject there. If you're really going to play flamenco guitar in particular, but even classical guitar is not as strenuous classical guitar, but you still are going to have to manage your nails regularly. Good question. Okay, let's take a look at the questions that are submitted for today. And there we go. Looks like we got some good questions. Let's hide that for a minute so I can see everything. Start from the top. I'm looking for the word question. Welcome, Paul. Germany, Helga. Tim? Question, Tim. What are you using for an amp and or pedals with your new guitar? Well, great question. I love to talk about that. I'll try not to get carried away here. As I just mentioned, I spend most of my time on nylon string guitar, and then a little less time on acoustic steel string guitar. So electric guitar I don't spend a lot of time on. I don't have a bunch of amps and pedals like I would if I played just strictly electric guitar. I mean, I think one of the cool things about electric guitar is you get to buy pedals and accessories and things it's fun. I think it's cool. But I haven't partaken too much in that world. That might change just because, quite frankly, life's short and it's kind of fun. I want to play around a little bit. I do have, I'm going to show you the amp that I use. It's a small Yamaha. Come on. They're not giving me enough cord here. I'm going to unplug it for a minute. There. A small little, it has the built-in distortion and a little delay. Not a lot of stuff. It has about 5 or 6 different sounds, kind of ranging from a bluesy rock sound to a British rock, something that sounds like a Fender twin reverb, it's imitating different amplifiers. It's cool because it's small, and it has a really good sound for being so small. That said, I don't have it with me here today, but I also own another amp called a Supra, and it's an all-tube amp, and it sounds much better. I have it in another location, in another studio, but that's what I really like to play on. It's a small, but being small, I can get it up to a good sound without blasting out the neighborhood. I would highly recommend that amp. It's a little 5-watt tube amp, Supra King. They make bigger ones. I got the smallest one, and it sounds great. They're about $500, I think. I don't have any pedals per se. I did actually just order one last night. I haven't gotten it yet. Just a little distortion pedal, because I want to be able to, like on this, have a clean sound and just with my foot go over to a distortion sound. So it's not that I'm looking for a high-end pedal with a particular sound. I just want something to be able to click off from clean to distortion with my foot. I can't do that on this. I don't have a foot pedal. More to come. I probably will, in the ensuing months, I probably will order some more toys to go with my electric guitar. As a matter of fact, I do have a Strat also, and I'll be going back and forth between the two guitars. Thanks for asking. Let's see, next question. Oh, Dan asked to demo a song with a quick example of strumming and fingerstyle counting method. Okay. Strumming. 1. Where'd the sound go? Oh, I unplugged it, didn't I? Okay. I don't want to be too loud either. And if I'm going to finger... There we go. I turned it to more of a clean sound too, so yeah, that's what I needed. Okay, strumming. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and the end is the upbeat of it's like the middle part of a beat. 1 E and a is a way of dividing the beats into 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Now with fingerstyle, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, let's see, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. There, I was trying to simplify so it would make more sense. So note, 1, next note, and 2 and 3 and 4 and if I wanted to divide it up more, 1 E and a 2 E, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... Now, by the way, I was picking with my right hand and a broken nail. Could you tell the difference when I picked with just the flash and with the nails? I couldn't tell much of a difference. So that was with flash, and that's a nail and flash. No, not much difference, and partly because the amplifier and the guitar accentuates the treble anyway. So, hope that helped, Dan. Next question. Mandy, is it normal to feel like you are getting worse before you start making progress again? Sometimes I feel like I am going backwards. Yes, Mandy, that's a good question. And almost all my students have had that experience. I think all students. I have. And I still occasionally get that feeling, especially when I go on to learn something. I mean, think about it. The nature of learning something is you kind of at first you're excited and you learn and your expectations aren't as high because everything's brand new. But then almost everybody gets to a point, usually in a month, 3 months, 6 months, depending on how much you practice and, your temperament, where you're going, wow, that seemed like it sounded better 3 months ago. Well, in your mind, your expectations weren't as high. So now you might be playing the same or even a little better, but you're expecting it to sound better. You put all this time and energy into it. And I've gone like that up and down. I think all students I've taught personally one-on-one, same experience at some points. I could practice really hard, but then one day it works really well and the next day it doesn't. And then the next day, all of a sudden I make a big leap. I don't know why. I've even felt like I've improved by laying off for 3 or 4 days of practicing. Not by laying off for a month. That definitely I had to catch it. But my expectations were lower too. When I didn't play for a month and I came back to it, I expected to have to work up. And so I didn't feel frustrated. Yes, it is the nature of learning. The one obvious curve is it tends to feel like, and I said feel because it's not really objective how you feel. It's not exactly what's going on. You tend to feel like you're making a lot of progress at first and then kind of taper off. And then it gets harder and then you make progress again. That's a general curve. But there's a lot of little curves in there as well. What is your make recommendation? Brand, I think is what you're actually asking. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. The brand to pick, I would say I'm using what they call a celluloid pick. It's a type of plastic. It's very common. This is a Fender. Doesn't matter. It's the same material no matter what brand. I have this pick in about probably 2 dozen brands, maybe even more. Generic, doesn't matter, really. I tend to use a lot of Fender and D'Addario picks just because I have access to them and they have a lot of variety. But it's not because they're all made of the same material. So if it's the shape and the material I want, it doesn't really matter. One thing I want to mention, This type of pick, I like the feel and the way it hits the string, but it's not the only pick I'd use. There's a pick called nylon that I'll use sometimes too. I just interchange from one to the other. But I always put a little rough stuff on the pick because it tends to slip real easy. And this is, there's different brands of it, but you can get them. I got it on Amazon. It's Gorilla something. It's little round sticky things that stick on the pick, and it's kind of clear, so you can't really see it, but it's on there. It makes it feel like it sticks a little better. I really like that. It's worth it for me. I think it costs $10 and a bunch of them, and I stick it on every pick that I use. If I find a pick that doesn't have it on it, I'll grab it and put it on, then I don't have to worry about it. So here's another pick. Yeah, I put that on too. I couldn't even see it. It's invisible. This is the same material, feels the same to me, but it's actually a custom pick. It has my face on it. That's wild. Next question. Feel free to add more questions, by the way, while I'm answering these. I'll get down to yours. Is there a way to learn power chords? In which order should you learn them? Are there easier ones first? Yes. A power chord is kind of a substitute for bar chords in a sense. It's just 2 notes, possibly 3 notes. I'll show you I would start with a 2-note power chord, and I would start with the ones that the name of the chord is on the 6th string. So here's a power chord. I'll let you see the guitar. And angle a little there. Okay. That's a G note, and then I'm going to go 2 frets up and 1 string over. I'm using my 1st and 3rd string finger. So let me give you an idea with distortion, what usually people are going for. See, this is distorted, you'll see. Ooh. Is that wild? Distorted rock and roll guitar. Okay, back to clean. Kind of clean, huh? Okay, that's your basic power chord. The name of the chord is on the 6th string. It's good to learn the notes on the 6th string, by the way, and that's one of the reasons. It'll help you with bar chords as well. There's the next one would be your 5th string root, meaning the name's on the 5th string. And it's the same thing, moved over 1 string. Black Sabbath. So it's the same thing. And you'll get the name here. So that's a C power chord. They don't have majors and minors because you're only playing the root and the 5th of the chord, and that doesn't tell you if it's a major or minor. So your ear is kind of filling in whatever it wants to hear, basically, depending on the song. Those are the 2. There are more. There's a 3-note power chord, and I'll show you that right quick, but I wouldn't start there. See, it doesn't sound much different. It's just the root, 5th, and then the root again. That's an octave higher than the 3rd fret, 6th string. It's the 5th fret on the 4th string. Especially with distortion, you don't really need it because all the overdrive and harmonics that are created by the overdrive kind of fill in the sound a bit. Okay, good question, Mandy. Is there a way to learn power chords? In order, should you learn? Sorry, I should have said hi first. Hi, hi, Mandy. What does distortion sound like? That's what it sounds like. And here's clean. When I turn down the volume, it tends to not overdrive the amp. It makes it sound clean. It's still a little distorted. I could change the amp to be a more clean sound too. There, that's a cleaner sound. Now I can even up the volume. That's clean sound. My amp has a built-in overdrive, which is a way of saying distortion. and I can turn it on or off. Oh, Dan, thanks. I'm glad that helped. You asked in a good way. I tend to work better by examples in general, and Dan asked me to play some stuff, and that I can relate to that. That's what works for me. Okay, I seem to have gotten to the end of my questions. Let me make sure. My face is blocking something. Oh, no, it's not the end. Come on, we got more. Okay. Question, Tim. What's the longest you've stopped playing? I'm going in for surgery on both hands after the first of the year. Wow. I'm not sure how long rehab will take. Oh, good question. I had a surgery on my hand. Oh, wrong hand. See, can you tell my finger's still crooked? It never quite came out right. And that stopped me. I was in a cast. I couldn't play for months. I think that might be the longest. I'm kind of old, so there's a lot to look back over. And I've been playing for a long time. But I'll say a few months, 2-3 months maybe. If I'd known back then what I know now, I would have done things a little differently. I have a series of things that you can do when you can't actually play the guitar that still improve your musicality. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's a benefit because you'll do things that you wouldn't normally take the time to do, and they improve your playing when you come back to it. I'll put a link in the show notes. I made a video on that, and I'll find it and put a link to it. I would encourage you to do this. Things like doing things that involve some ear training and visualizing the fretboard. And there's some good suggestions on there. Things that I think I should do, or all students should do, even when they can play the guitar. But we tend not to. We tend to want to get something that produces a result right away that we can hear. That's why people like to play licks and songs right away. They want to hear something that sounds good. So I'll put that on my show notes, and in a couple of days, my assistant will have that out, I think by Monday. Good luck with your operation, Tim. I hope everything goes smooth and rehab is shorter than longer. I'll say this one thing too, since you mentioned it. I wish I could go back and do the exercise they told me more diligently. I was a young dude and a little, yeah, you know how it is. But my finger might have been more straightened out and work a little better. I've learned to live with it, but I would have done the exercises more diligently, stretching in particular. Is your course generic or tailored for individual students? Rod. By nature, all courses are, in that sense, generic. When you take a college course, the course has a syllabus, and there's a group of people in the class, and they all get the same syllabus. Now, that said, everybody has a different experience because they can ask questions, they get feedback, they might start in a different place, they might go faster or slower, they might skip around. I don't always recommend that, but it has its use too. They will pick and choose different parts of the courses. To be clear, what you're calling a course, Rod, is actually an entire website of courses, many courses, so that you can pick and choose. There's basic fundamental courses on just bar chords, finger picking, but then there's individual courses on like improvisation or different aspects of playing guitar. Most people need that basic foundation course if they're just starting out. But if you've been playing for a while, you might just want to go directly to the course on improvisation or finger picking or both or all. Bar chords if you need that. There's a bunch on strumming, on how to learn the guitar neck. I think 15, 14 different smaller courses on different aspects of playing guitar. But then there's big course like the Beginner's Journey that has 6 modules of all the basics of playing chords and how to get around the guitar and read the tablature and those kinds of things. Make sure I didn't miss any questions here. How do you jump from song to song before learning it right through? How do I stop jumping from song to song before learning it right through? Okay, this is John. John, probably the best way would be to get a good teacher. Because, see, the thing is with learning a skill like guitar, just going from song to song period is a slow way to learn. Learning songs doesn't work on the things you really need to work on in an order that you need to work on them. So a good teacher will have you work on specific exercises and elements, skills, and then apply that to a song as a way to kind of solidify it and practice it and have fun with it, and then move on to some new skills and then apply that to a song. So just the idea of playing song, song, song is really a slow boat. I know, I started that way. A lot of my friends did. We didn't know better. But that's what a teacher is for. And I say a good teacher because, unfortunately, a lot of my first teachers just taught song after song. They weren't good teachers. They were good players, but they weren't good teachers. They didn't know how to do things, and they were trying to please me because I said I wanted to learn this and this because I was paying them and they wanted the money. That's a dilemma for a teacher. You don't do what the student says. Sometimes they drop. They don't know. It's part of the teacher's job to say, really, this is what we need to do. When I enrolled in college, it was a different situation. The teachers, I said, I want to learn this song, and they said, no, we're going to do it this way. Here's the plan. And I was in college, so it wasn't like he's going to get paid whether I followed his plan or not. So I thought that was one of the better teaching situations. I could say it's a matter of discipline, but it's not that simple. If you don't have a teacher and you don't know what you should be working on when you go from song to song, there's not much to stop you from jumping from one song to another when it gets hard or if you get bored with it. I think you need a path. Online lessons, they serve to some degree the place of a teacher. A good teacher, again, you got to find a good teacher. I'd recommend learning how to find a good teacher. I have a blog post on that. Both is great. A website has a tendency to be able to watch the videos over and over and usually a very good order. You don't have to, when I created a website, and any good website, you really took time to think of how to put things together. Individual lessons, they don't have that luxury. They on the fly in that moment. So the websites are very good. A private teacher and a website would be great together if you could afford that. What is a Telecaster, a good first electric guitar? A Telecaster is a brand, is a model of a Fender guitar. It has a certain sound. If it's, they make different versions of Telecaster. They make Squier, inexpensive Telecasters. They make expensive American-made Telecasters. Usually you can spend anywhere from a couple hundred up to thousands. And then there's old Telecasters that have value beyond their functionality, cost tens of thousands of dollars just because they're sought after and they're limited. Yes, in general, the short version is it's just a type of electric guitar. It's as good as any other type of electric guitar for learning on. I would say just get one that works right. One of the best things you could do is get somebody to adjust the strings so that they sound good all the way up and down the neck. They don't buzz, and they're not too high off the frets to make it really hard to learn. That would be probably more important than the specific model of guitar. Is a Telecaster better or worse than like a Stratocaster, another model, a Jazzmaster, another model, a Gibson Les Paul? No, about the same if you adjust it properly. A little different feel in the neck, but that's really a personal thing. Jimi Hendrix used a Stratocaster. Led Zeppelin, it's one of my favorite guitar players. I can't think of his name. Anyway, Les Paul, Led Zeppelin. I have both. I like going from one to the other, different sound, but one's not better or worse. I'd say if you have a chance to get a Telecaster and you can get it adjusted, or somebody has had it and has it adjusted, a used one, I'd say get it. Is there a lightweight electric guitar. Okay, some are lighter than those. Les Paul would be on the heavy side. Gibson Les Paul. Jimmy Page, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Yeah, really heavy. And I remember that being so heavy for me. They make lighter ones now. I just recently read an article where the standard Les Paul, they carve out some of the wood, and Gibson claims it didn't change the sound. Now, see, that's the issue. Heavier solid guitars tend to sustain more with distortion, and lighter ones less. But that's not a big thing when you're first starting out. It's probably not even an issue. The Stratocaster and Telecaster tend to be lighter. The Gibson Les Paul tends to be heavier. Other than that, it's on an individual basis, but it's probably not a big difference, enough to worry too much about. Yeah, I would say it that way. There are semi-hollow guitars. Again, if they're lighter, I don't think it's enough to be worried about. I would say the Strat and Tele are both comfortable fits. The one thing I like about them, they're more so than the Gibson like Les Paul, they feel better when you hold them, a Strat or a Telecaster. Again, I think Telecaster is pretty comfortable to hold and reasonably light. You're welcome, Tim. If you use spider exercises to warm up, is there an order for your fingers? Well, there are different exercises. If you're starting out, I would do a more basic one. I have brand new beginners do the simplest version, which is open, 2, 3, open, first fret, second fret, third fret, and all the way up. I eliminate the pinky because usually brand new beginners, that's unneeded complication. But as time goes on, I'll add the pinky and I'll move it up here because the frets are closer together and it's easier to stretch up this fret. So here's the next one. Again, from here to here is less space than from here to here. Now, as you practice, you can start moving it down. As you get more experience, it's stretching your hand. See, the frets are wider. So this is in order. I don't know what level you are, so I'll assume you're in the earlier stages from your questions. I would probably stay in there. But I have students that are more advanced, and I'm only talking, a year or so playing, that do stuff like this. I like this spider. I don't know if you could tell what I was doing. I was leaving the fingers on the fret until I moved. It's a much harder exercise. Watch. Now that you know what to look for, watch my second finger. It stayed on the 6th string while the first one moved over. Then the second moves over. When students are first learning this, I have them just finger it without plucking to eliminate the complication of having to move the right hand in coordination and then add the right hand. A great exercise. I call that the spider. But if you're a brand new beginner, I wouldn't start there. I'd start with the first ones I showed. Great warm-ups, very important. Not just for warming up your fingers, but see what you want to do with these exercises is go slow and really focus on relaxing but getting your finger in just the right place, because that'll transfer over to all your playing. And usually when you're learning something more complex, you don't have time to really focus on getting the finger in exactly the right place. So it's a habit you're developing. Very important to do that. I wouldn't have known that when I first started, that I wanted to get right into songs and licks, but these warm-ups and things really actually make things go faster, even though it looks like you're kind of diverting from the chorus. I just started learning the bass guitar. Oh, fun! While continuing my guitar journey. Do you think that will help or hurt my guitar playing besides taking time from the guitar? Besides taking time, no. One thing, I've toyed with making a bass course. I played bass for years in the bands, and I loved it. It was fun. I just couldn't do all the things. When I write songs, and I couldn't write songs on the bass, and I had to go back to guitar to do my recording. But I had more fun on stage with the bass than I did on electric guitar. I just like that feel of the bass. You have to think differently on bass, and that's the important point. It is the same notes, just a few octaves lower as the first as the low four strings of the guitar, but you think very differently. You think bass lines. So a guitar player is moving around scales, whereas a bass line is holding the bottom end. So this it's not as effective. It might sound fancier by itself, but it messes up the rest of the band. They're looking for that good. Now, I'm using a simple example. There are more complex bass lines that work, but you're thinking like a bass player and thinking strategically, not just what notes sound good in and of themselves, how they fit with the rest of the music, with the drummer and the beat, as well as the harmony of the band. So that, I wish somebody had told me that when I first started playing bass. It took me a long time to get that. And I remember I was there when I got a job playing for a band that had a really technique-oriented bass player. He was really awesome, but they fired him because the singer got tired of him playing all these fancy lines when she was trying to sing the song, and it was not complimenting her voice. She is the leader. And I got the job because I was willing to play the right notes at the right time that complimented the band. I knew I had arrived. I wish I got there faster. Question. Have you thought about adding a segment that takes off where Beginner's Journey leaves off? Sharon K. That was my intention for bar chords for everyone. I could have said the next adventure is about bar chords, but instead I made it a separate course so somebody who already has the basic could just jump right into bar chords for everyone. But I'd be open. It's so many things I would love to make lessons on. The trick is to get it organized in a way that people can make sense out of it. I'm thinking of adding more stylistic. In other words, if you want to play blues guitar, after you got the beginning stuff, here's what you do that's specific to blues or to rock. But I'd be curious to hear more about what you think would be taking off from Beginner's Journey, what you think would be the next steps. It would help me. I only have one perspective from my experience. Feel free to add it here or in the Real Guitar Success forum. That would be great. I made it here. Yay, Rogelio. Can you give us an example of using the key of C in a solo? Do I need a backing track for this? Let me think about that. Key of C in a solo. So I would have said of doing a solo in the key of C. So if I were doing a solo in the key of C, first of all, the chords would be something, That's the key of C. Oh, I wish I had a looper now. I would loop that and then I could solo over it. But I'd want a backing track or something. A looper, I could record that. Yeah, I got it. Maybe that's my pedal. That's the next pedal, a looper. Now, that would be fun. Okay, I digress. I would probably want to play in that style. It's kind of doing a folksy thing. Something with a C scale. Or that's a C major. Or C major pentatonic. Oh, let's play it. C major pentatonic. So then I would want to hear the chords and I would play. I'll stick with the C major pentatonic for this. I'm trying to do both at the same time. Okay, so that's kind of what it would sound like with a C major pentatonic scale. If I was doing something in more rocky, I might throw in a C minor pentatonic. Something like that. Yeah, kind of hard to do without somebody playing the chords. When I was younger, I had friends, they'd play the chords and we'd take turns. Now, you can do a lot with a looper or recording on your computer and playing back with it, or just getting backing tracks. Next question. I'm looking for question. How do you count this strum pattern? D, D, U, D, U, D, 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 U. It's a little hard to tell just by that because D means down, U means up. But I can't tell where the beats are. So let me just try. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, down. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So that's 5 beats. That can't be a full strum. 1, 2, 3. No. 1, 2, and... Yeah, I can't tell exactly without knowing where the beats are in that. So you need more information. Somebody has to either demonstrate the strum to you or give you, write out the beats, 1 and 2 and underneath it to know where the beats fall. Hey, oh, my screen changed. How do you play the offbeat? For example, Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. Offbeat means not on, so you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the end would be the offbeat. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So our counting would be like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. And I'll show my guitar. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm hitting on the end. I'm using up because I tend to pick up on an offbeat. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and so on. Let me know if that answered your question. Can you explain call and response playing a blues riff? Call and response is you play a riff and then a riff that sounds like it's a response to that riff. So, call, response, call, response, something like that. That's a very simple example. How do you, oh, wrong. Yes, Rogelio said I just need to mess around the key of C and see what sounds good. It's so exciting. I agree. It's fun. I really like playing either with backing tracks or stuff I made up. I'll just record chord progressions. I think that's some of the most fun I have playing guitar. The nice thing is nobody's going to criticize me if I hit a wrong note. I'm thinking that a separate journeyman's journey would provide a structure that would include the separate courses such as, oh, I see. So Sharon K is saying, after beginner's journey in my real guitar success, a journeyman's journey would be kind of like a level 2 beginner's journey, and it would incorporate bar chords and more advanced technique. Thank you, Sharon K. And next question, how do we pluck an adjacent string when left fingers are closer to the 12th fret, where the action is higher? I have a hard time with muting or buzzing the next string. Okay, how do we pluck an adjacent string when left fingers are closer to the 12th fret? If you could answer that a little differently, I don't know how to interpret that question. I can tell you this, though. You mentioned buzzing and next. In general with guitar, I'm constantly muting strings with my palm on an electric guitar because they tend to ring out. like that. I made them ring out this time, but when I'm playing, I do it without even thinking, a habit. I keep muting the other strings with the palm of my right hand and sometimes with my left hand. I didn't even think it. My hand just went to the palm on the low string. I didn't want it to ring out while I was playing that note. So I was muting with my right hand. It's a technique that you learn slowly and over time because it's not something I'm going to show you and you get right off the bat. And that's one of the things you can tell when somebody's playing lead. They might play a lot of cool notes, but you hear a lot of buzzing and ringing. That means they're in the earlier stages. They need to develop that technique more. I'm out of time. Yeah, you're welcome, Mandy. Glad I could be of help. Maybe sometime teach us about using a looper. Okay, that means I got to get one then, right? Okay, talk me into it. Sounds like fun. I'll get it, mess with it, and bring it into the lesson. Maybe make a whole lesson on it. That would be cool. Yeah. I have had friends that use loopers, so I'm familiar with the sound, and I've seen some of the things they could do. And one of the things I like is they'll play a chord thing, and then they'll riff over it. That's cool. Okay, I'm at the end of the questions. I'm going to do the drawing for today. These, again, for if you came in late, are people who are part of my Real Guitar Success membership. They've completed the practice sessions, 20 in a month, and now they've been entered into a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. We're going to do that drawing. Turn off my volume so I don't get any wild noise. And let's see. Here we got a winner. Wally! Oh, and by the way, just so you know, it's the end of the month was just yesterday, and I realized there wasn't enough time. So I picked everybody in the drawing that completed at least 80% of the lessons for the month. So I don't know where you fit in that, Wally, but you're the winner, and I'll be sending you that gift card. And all of you who are in there are winners because you've gotten a little better guitar and you've kept your commitment to keep moving forward. Good job. With that, any last-minute questions? No, not today. I'm going to leave you for today. I hope to see you again next month, the first Thursday of the month. I'll be back. Think of some questions to ask me. Feel free to send ahead of time, and I'll even do a little research if I need to. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.